Hello and welcome to the March 22nd weekly JupyterLab call. I don't know how many people we have on the call today. Oh no, I do. The UI does show me that. 19. There's 19 people on the call right now. And we have a bunch of us in a shared notebook on Binder. So at some point later in the call, we will talk about issues that arose in it. But for now, we're just going to jump straight into the weekly agenda. So the first person on the agenda is Fred, but he wasn't able to make it. So he has his bullet point up with the proposal to do beta before Saturday. Does anyone want to talk about this? Or should I just read what's on the document?
I can kind of summarize what the next steps are. So as of right now, we've got Alpha 37 out for JupyterLab 4.0.0. The intention is to make that into beta 0 by the end of this week and be in beta for 2 weeks, then get to an RC and encourage people to migrate to RC0 and any subsequent RCs. The goal is to have the 4.0 final generally available release just before JupyterCon, so early May of this year. If not, we'll at least have a release candidate to talk about at the conference. So this is kind of an aggressive timeline, but wanted to see how people feel about moving into beta by the end of this week.
If you don't have words, yeah, you can also use reactions as well. But yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. I think all of the major changes are in now, so now is a good time.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
There is a comment about bugs in the chat, but
yeah, so that
beta is still fine. I mean, you can still fix bugs during the beta and even during the release candidate. That's okay. I mean, as long as we don't break APIs, and also, I guess even if we end up breaking a little bit, like just a small thing, I guess it will be also okay as long as it's documented during the beta cycle. So yeah, we're not expecting anything big to land anymore, I think. So it should be good.
Mm-hmm. Mike's got his hand up.
So I wonder, are break changes which affect experimental APIs fine? And I think about LSP. So there is an implementation, but this implementation might be clashing with the extension. And when we will be porting the extension soon, and that work might start after we start beta, we might want to change some things. So I guess just wanted to clarify whether that's fine or how should I proceed here?
So the beta doesn't come with a hard guarantee that if we discover a bug in the API, we're not going to fix it. And if the bug is a usability bug, that's still probably something we can fix there at the lowest cost between now and the next release cycle. So if there's something you need to change because you're working directly with an API that was recently created, that the beta seems like an okay time to do it. Hopefully it doesn't come up. Hopefully there's no changes in the API itself, it's solid. But if it does, I think, honestly, even if we were in an RC, if we find something that's going to screw everyone who wants to use a new library that we just created, that doesn't seem like a terrible thing to resolve. So yeah, I think I think that's compatible with Semver. Right, our plan to treat beta a certain way isn't required by Semver. Semver just cares about your final, your minor, major, and patch being those semantic things. So yeah, we can do it. Anyone else have an alternate point of view? Like, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I think it's good. Just wanted to say that also if you have some extensions that you know will have to be ported to JupyterLab 4, then now is really the best time to do it, because then if you find something it will be much easier to report and we can fix it quickly. We've done this with Notebook 7 during the whole alpha, and it was great because we could find issues and fix them upstream. So again, yeah, if you have big extensions that use a large scope of the API surface, then please have a look so we can catch things earlier.
Okay. And to Andrew's comment earlier, we do have bugs. We just filed about 24 bugs across JupyterLab and Jupyter Notebook from an internal bug bash we did earlier this week. We're probably going to get more bugs coming in when we do our bug bash next week, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we are not going to get to 0 bugs by the time we release 4.0. We're going to get to a point where we're comfortable releasing with a set of known issues and then fix some of them in 4.01 and fix some of them in future issues. I think this is something where if we want to stay on track for this release, we're going to have to dedicate some of our attention to both identifying and fixing the bugs to make us ready for this 0.0 release.
Okay, so Fred ends his thing with, what do you think? And does anyone else have thoughts on this? Do you guys generally approve? Like, what's the temperature on doing this? For me, I am persuaded by what I just heard, but what does the rest of you think? I'll take emojis. I'll take anything. Cool. All right. Then why don't we continue to Jason and Andrew's point with the plan to proceed as Fred says with the beta 0 by the end of the week.
Andrew, you want to go ahead with this one? You're muted at the moment.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to say a couple of things. So first of all, we definitely, when we talk about beta, we're definitely not talking about freezing bug fixes, because there are a lot of bugs, and we had a bug bash within our team this week. You might have seen a lot of issues being created, and we wanted to extend this activity and ask community to also participate in a bug bash. What we mean by a bug bash is a group activity around 1 hour long that is dedicated to discovering bugs, discussing them, and filing them as an issues for tracking, maybe also assigning people to those bugs. Scope for both JupyterLab and Jupyter Notebooks. And we would love as many people who work in JupyterLab and Jupyter Notebook to participate. Essentially, we would spend around 40 minutes just going each on our own through key user flows and trying to identify problems, bugs, inconsistencies, UX bugs, and so on, and file them. And then later, we can track them and hopefully squash the biggest offenders. Our team is definitely open to contributing after the bug bash to fixing bugs, but we definitely would like to help of community here. So we looked at the calendar. Next Monday, March 27, the same time slot that is happening now, which is 9 a.m. PDT, 4 UTC, or 1600, 1700 BST, or 5 p.m., 6 p.m., or 1800 CEST. So it seems like a time slot that is similar to current meeting and that works for different geographies. So yeah, please join. It's already on calendar. Next Monday. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please.
Yeah, this is the closest
know.
thing we're proposing to a QA pass for the 0.0 release. And so we encourage people to try something that you don't normally do. Like I don't typically use JupyterLab and Jupyter Notebook on Windows. So I did that earlier this week when we did our team's bug bash. You know, if you use a different theme or use a different programming language, all of these things can help to identify potential bugs. You know, try to file thing. What we did was we kept like a spreadsheet where we captured everything, just so that we could record things quickly. And then yesterday I went through and filed bugs for any new issues. And if the same issue was filed multiple times, we only filed it once. So whatever system kind of works best for you. You know, we want to put ourselves in the mindset of less experienced users here.
Great. Thanks.
And you don't have to do it at that time. If that time isn't convenient for you, feel free to block off an hour of your time some other time early next week. But we want to try to get everyone to play around with the software for an hour, file new bugs, and then that way at meetings like this one, we can do triage, or we can start to like identify a quality bar to make sure that we commit to fixing critical release blocking bugs first.
Cool. Thanks, Jason. Any questions or comments? Okay, cool. Next up is Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. So basically, I filed this issue not yesterday, sorry, last week. Basically, I'm trying to do an extension that has like a lot of themes inside. But when I was trying to do that, then I started wondering, because the API, like the current API, you can only declare one theme per extension. And I know that Mike, in that issue, he replied to me telling me like another package that does have more than one theme, but I've been toying around with that one and I haven't been able to install it in a development version. So I am not sure what I'm doing wrong, and also if this has like been an issue before, like if anyone has tried to extend like the API to just not have just one theme, but rather like, you know, like the user, like the developer will be able to like declare more than one theme and then have that one on their extension. So yeah, that's my question.
So
I guess I'm the guy at the other end of that stick, and I hadn't had the fortitude to wade back in. I don't think that it's likely that you're going to get multiple themes out of one extension, because they are handled in a special way, and there's only one place to discover stuff inside of there. But since you're probably going to distribute it as a Python package, you could have multiple extensions, and just use like the pattern where you deploy the different extensions, not like the cookie cutter, but where you deploy them to their actual names. So you actually ship multiple extensions, and then if you want to have shared stuff between them, you can have a package that isn't a theme extension that they depend on. Like if you're going to build icons and stuff like that, those don't need to go in every one of the themes separately. But that does not work today, and it's not going to work in the 4 release, because we can't change how extensions work again today.
Yeah, no, I know that. Like I'm not sure, like I could make that change to the API if we want to, like later on. Like I'm not talking like to do it like tomorrow for 4.0, but I could do that change like later this year as well. But yeah, like I am investigating how to do that, like having multiple packages inside my Python package. But
Yeah.
do you have any example that is currently working? Because like the one Mike pointed me out, for me, like I haven't been able to install it in development mode.
I mean, it's got it contributing. Did you do it? It said contributing. Anyhow, it's probably got a task builder on top of it, and hasn't been in touch because I only get to work on it when I get paid. But yeah, like there is not a good extension cookie cutter for something that uses a monorepo pattern. And we should probably add one. That would be
Okay,
better
yeah.
than the theme works.
Okay, yeah, like if I find a way, I will also add like a page to the docs, just so like the next people that wants to do the same that I want to do, they just know like how to do it. Like I am also thinking about doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, docs are good, but they fall out of test. A cookie cutter or a copier, because copier is super rad and may be appropriate for a theme, is going to give people more punch.
Yep.
So we used to have a theme, a dedicated theme extension, cookie cutter, but we got rid of it because we wrapped everything into one because we're trying to make things less special. What we may need is a switch for the top level of the cookie cutter that lets you build multiple extensions. That gets shipped in one Python package. I think that would be the most productive way forward.
Okay.
Cool. It seems as though in even the simplest imagining of this, you would want at least dark and light to be in a one package so that you install a theme and it's dark and light come that way.
Yeah.
You know, maybe having more than the two feels exotic, but if you think two is sort of intuitive, then I think that applies. We should be thinking more about how to do this exact thing because, yeah, I think many themes would want to package dark light together, right?
Yeah, like my
you're
friend
saying-
is.
Got it. So yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Okay.
Any other?
Thank you, guys.
Okay, great. Mike, you're up next.
So I'm following up on the topic that I mentioned last time, which is the performance of CSS selectors. And as suggested on the call, I opened a PR which will include additional rules to the style linter, to the style lint RC, and that includes a maximum of 1 per HTML tag in selector, maximum of 4 classes, maximum of 4 component selectors, and a maximum of 1 universal selector, so this star. We would ideally reduce those further, but this is what I had like time and will to do in one PR because there were quite a few changes that we had to either modify the style selectors or disable the these new rules to allow what we already have. And maybe we could go further. I don't know, but it already covered quite a few styles which were actually not used anymore, and were so complicated. No one wanted to look at them probably and thought that they did something important, but actually were referring to deleted code. So that's a nice thing about linters. If anyone has feedback or thoughts, please let me know on the PR. But otherwise, I would really appreciate if someone could have and review it so that it's merged promptly. Because I get like an anxiety when looking at so many PRs coming in and they need to manually review styles to ensure that there isn't bad regression. Any comments on that one? Okay, so the other point is that, yep.
Oh, I had a couple of ideas how you can try to reach out to Microsoft, reach out to support. That might take time,
Yeah.
but they reply. I have
let's-
reached out to them a couple of times. Also, extremely, if you want to be extreme, we could tag them on Twitter, but I don't think it's the most fruitful way.
So this is my second point. JupyterLab desktop.
At JupyterCon from Microsoft, maybe these people. I mean, we could reach out to them.
Yeah, The problem is that there is in JupyterLab desktop, it's getting flagged by Windows security, and there is a form where you can upload your binary and say that it's a false positive. But our binary is too big, and we cannot use this dedicated mechanism. So, yeah, that's the issue, that we need a non-standard approach, and it would be nice if it was addressed promptly.
Do you have other pointers than this issue?
No, there's only that public discussion. There wasn't any offline correspondence in that one.
All right, I sent an intro email to the folks from Microsoft who are keynoting at JupyterCon, so maybe they would be interested in helping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Let's move on. Andrew, you are up.
Hey, so earlier I was talking about bug bash that we did as our team. So one of the bugs we found was considered by Brian as a breaking bug. It is surely a UX breaking bug. So essentially in JupyterLab, now if you have a cell near the edge of the viewport and you create a new cell that is created outside of viewport, below the viewport, by, for example, pressing Shift and Enter, right? The viewport is not scrolling down to make this cell viewable, which was the case previously. So I have like binary searched the releases and then commits. I have identified the PR that introduced this problem, but I have a hard time pinpointing the exact line and fixing it because it's almost 6,000 line of code. So it's a windowed virtual notebook PR. If anyone can give me advice or would like to contribute to fixing this bug, please do. I linked both in the comments. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Okay. Anyone have any response to Andrew?
Well, Fred would probably be the most qualified person to answer because he did the VR, but probably he's not here today.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Sylvian, could you repeat that? I haven't caught
Fred
everything.
Colonval is the person who did the virtual scrolling. And so, but he's on vacation this week. So,
Oh, I see. That explains why he haven't replied to a couple of messages and emails. Thank you, Sylvian, for letting me know. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, but
There was.
sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that there is a pull request that was looking at scrolling to cell by ID, and it also kind of followed up on the Windows notebooks refactor. So that might be something that you could use to get familiar or find the relevant parts of the code base. But I also believe that we already test lots of these kind of behaviors using Helata visual regression testing. So maybe first step would be adding a test case for that. And if you could do that, either Frederick or I could look at how to solve that problem itself. But like even having a regression test would be half of the work probably.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I definitely agree that having a regression test catching this would be nice. Thank you.
Cool, great. Okay, so we don't have anything else on the agenda, and people have been playing around in the shared notebook. What's the feedback?
We haven't lost all the data. That's
Haven't lost
plus.
all the data. Control
It's-
Z stinks. Control Z is just not working. Even when folks aren't doing stuff, I'm having trouble with Control Z as a single user experience. I'm finding a lot of the control shortcuts are broken with RTC. Control X, Control Y, and Control Z break on multiple cursors. I filed an issue for that. But some of the kind of corded things that you might do aren't working the way that I would expect. So I think that's a concern. I like it. I do. It feels smoother. If we could see the cursors and stuff, that'll change things. But will I be able to turn this off as a single user? The RTC thing in 4.0.
It's opt-in. You have to
Cool.
opt in. Yeah. You have to install
Great.
the Jupyter collaboration stuff.
Great.
So
That makes me super happy. Great. Thank you.
I mean, keep in mind there are bits of API that are now changed from the way they were before. So it might be that you run into something that isn't the way you expected, and that might be a bug. But there's fewer of them because more of them have been moved to Jupyter collaboration now.
One of the first things me and somebody else tried was attachments. They show up after you refresh the UI, but they don't show up when they're pasted. If they did though, it's a really cool feature, like being able to like image share screenshots in the markdown cells. They do persist, but they just don't show up immediately.
Question. So as we continue doing this, should we keep recording this? It seems as though someone might actually be interested in our feedback here, but it also seems like you might just want to react off the cuff. So what do you folks think?
Let's stop the recording.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm always looking for an excuse. So let's stop the recording. I just have to figure out. There it is. Okay. Thanks, everyone.